Hey everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Sands, hosted by Cuddles R Us.
Today, we're going to be delving into the developer interview hosted by Pirate Software. Let's get into it. So, first of all, the interview itself is about an hour and a half long. We'll have the link listed down below in the description, but we have watched this video many times over, and there were a few key takeaways that really drew our attention.
Well, we're first going to start off with the monetization. I mean, everybody's looking for it. Everybody wants to see it. We want to know how the monetization was going to go. Now, in that interview, he stated a couple of things. And here's where it gets a little fishy. I think he left himself an escape hatch because when he was talking, he talked about another game.
You know what? Hold on. Let's watch it.
It's hard. I'll say this as a developer who's worked on games. Like, Secret World is a perfect example of this, right?
Yeah.
I love that game. I loved it. I put every fiber of my being into that project, and I loved it, and I really wanted to succeed. And it had less players than it needed. And in order to keep the team together, we started out with subscription, I believe, when we launched it. We dropped the subscription pretty quickly because we saw we needed more players, right? And then there was like a DLC plan where we were putting out these issues. And like we were designing these issues and releasing issues every so often.
That was like comic books, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it was awesome.
I was there from launch to the end, man.
Oh, okay, cool. So you know, like, and I was game director on it during that period, and it was like, and I was like, and it was just sad to sort of, like, revenue was dwindling. We weren't getting the people in as much as we were hoping. I thought the game had infinite potential, but it just, and then, you know, there was a point where we like, yeah, okay, we have to add these kind of items to the item store, right? And the saddest moment I think of my career, like sad in a way, was we added a loot box to the item store in that game, and it sold more in a day than the game had made in a year.
Now, this really isn't a big deal. This happens to a lot of games. It happened in ESO. It happens in a lot of places. Monetization of a game and implementing these key systems is something that a lot of us gamers are really try to avoid, but there is no really avoiding it.
Yeah, you can love them, you can hate them. Some people absolutely live for loot boxes. People like me, I don't like them at all. I just feel like it's really grabby in the long run.
Yes. Now, I hands down agree with this model of his monetization. Like,
yes.
I agree. Like, I want to buy a game, all right, and I don't want to see loot boxes. I want to see the game. I don't want to be hounded with a cash shop or trying to buy coins or doing anything like that. I just want a nice game that I can sit down and play.
Yes, I want to see a game like in the old days where you would sit there and you would buy the game itself and that was it. Like, that was the game you got. You didn't have all these microtransactions that were begging for your credit card every time you turned around.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the DLC strategy behind the gameplay, and I completely can understand and get behind it. But in his talk made me worry a little bit because the game is made by Funcom. There's another game that's done this. It's called Conan Exiles. Now, Conan Exiles, they started out as a buy-to-play model and then turned into having a battle pass. Ended up putting the cash shop in. And this all happened 2 years after release. It happened, I think, in 2022. And, you know, is that where we're heading? Is the game going to launch and then we're going to see, like, the model's great, right? Everybody buys into it. You know, we see the player base drop off. Next thing you know, are we going to see these loot boxes come in?
Yeah, I can definitely see it going that direction. I remember back in the day with, I know it's not by Funcom, but ESO. I started with ESO from the very beginning, and yes, it was subscriber based. And, you know, you paid your subscription, well then the player base dropped off. We then had the option to do a subscription, and if you did do the subscription, you had all these bonus perks. You got crowns, you got extra things, you could buy cosmetic items. But the biggest thing that hit with me is that in ESO in particular, if you subscribed, you had a bag that increased your inventory. And I got to a point where I could no longer play that game unless I subscribe for that enhanced inventory. So I'm wondering if Dune Awakening is eventually going to go this direction.
I mean, that's the fear about every game, though. I mean, like, there's no game out there right now that we can honestly say that doesn't have one of these systems in place. And they might start off as a non-loot shop base, but it seems like all these companies, like, once they get a player base or they get a dedicated player base, right? They look at it as like the first year is the trial period. So that trial period is how many players do we get concurrently, right? They look at that, and then they look at, what player base did we have when it started? Because it got all our money, right? Like, we played the game, we enjoyed the game, we had fun, we went back to our other games because of lack of content or something else. And this is where this is the sticky situation. Is now you have your base, your player base. Now they're not putting out DLCs they're only putting DLCs out every 3 months. Like, are these players buying those DLCs? What kind of like money management are they going to have? What if nobody buys those DLCs because they're only cosmetic, right? And then you got your player base and you're like, I need to make money because I need to support this game.
Yes, and I really do hope that they're able to support this game on merit alone. Like, I'm hoping that the player base stays strong and the DLCs are confident and give us enough in order to keep us tuned in to playing Dune Awakening all the time. Even if, you're going to see those player bases ebb and flow, you're going to have increases, you're going to have decreases. That's the nature of all games. But at the same time, I have a lot of hopes. In his interview, I really appreciated the way that he took a strong stance on the fact that he doesn't want any loot boxes. He doesn't want that stuff. But I did not like how he did leave himself a little escape hatch. Like a little clause in there where it could go, well, maybe.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, fingers crossed we don't end up with this down the road. I mean, that's all we're really asking for here. Like, I know I'm just speaking into a void. I mean, I understand that, Funcom will probably never even hear me even talk about it. But, you know what? If you want to hear more about it, leave a comment below and maybe send it off to Funcom. Maybe they'll take a listen and they can understand it too. I really do, on the brighter side, like, I do like the fact that they confirmed that DLCs are planned for every 3 months. That's huge. That's going to allow us to make sure that we buy that, that extra pack for $90, that makes sure that we are going to get, a full year of DLCs right out the gate.
All the latest and greatest and all the new things to keep our attention. I'm really hoping for more than just cosmetic type things and, simple little areas. I'm hoping for a lot of really good storyline, a lot of really good extras there that just gives some meat and potatoes to the whole story.
Yeah, I did like the fact that he talked about the world getting expanded horizontally, not vertically, in those DLCs, which he did say DLC versus expansion, right? Expansions will get you more power, which you'll have to buy those, kind of like Conan Exiles, right? You have to buy all those expansions to get those extra little goodies. But the DLCs are all just going to be expanded horizontally, so it's just going to get spread out, which is a good way to make it.
Yeah, it's going to make returning to the game, if you've taken a break, more enjoyable than saying, wow, I just came back and now I'm 30 levels under leveled, I can't catch up and I can't compete. Why do I even bother playing?
Well, they also did state in there that how character power is developed. It's like 30% or 33% your gear, 33% your character base.
Oh yeah, but hold on. That's for another Beyond the Sands.
Oh,
we're
that's
focusing on monetization and DLC today.
Yeah, I forgot. Yes, stay on topic. I got you. But
that being said, if you guys are interested in hearing more of that, make sure you tune in to our next Beyond the Sand. We listen to the developer interviews over and over and over again, hour and a half by hour and a half, so you don't have to.
Yes. Now, I'm hoping that we can keep the player base significantly, like, I hope it's a big win, right? I hope we can keep a player base, so then that way we don't have to have this monetization style where they might put in loot boxes, they might not put in loot boxes. Like, the problem with what he said is the fact that it wasn't a definitively no. He said if he wanted to keep his staff, he will do it.
Like that other game.
Yeah. He said because he's got good people that work for him, and nobody works for free.
But you never know what the future's going to hold. I guess only time will tell here.
Yep. But, you know, nobody's really asking for loot boxes in 2025. But if you are, leave a comment below. If you like the video, hit like, subscribe, hit the bell if you want to know more. But until then, stay thirsty.
See you next time, guys. Bye.